In the United States, 41 offenses are capable of capital punishment, or better known as the death penalty. Just a few of them being, and it might sound a little confusing, but they are mailing of injurious articles with intent to kill, genocide, and aircraft or motor vehicle destruction with intent to kill, and so much more. But to narrow it down for you, the so-called categories would be treason, espionage, attempted murder of a witness, juror, or court officer, and drug trafficking. Prisoners can choose their last meal. Innocence can still be proven after death. And up until 1936, the death penalties were very public, so if you have a weak stomach, be thankful you are not living 100 years prior to now. Based off of my survey results, I have noticed that a whole lot of you do not know a lot about my topic, the death penalty, which is what I'm here to talk to you about today. The first established law related to the death penalty dates as far back as the 18th century BC. And around the same time, in the Draconian Code of Athens, the death penalty was the only punishment, no matter how little of importance a crime may have seemed. Criminals of this time received the death penalty by crucifixion, drownings, beatings, being burned alive, and impalement. In the article Capital Punishment gave me some information about the early times of the death penalty, saying, the first recorded death penalty was in 1608. European settlers had brought this practice that they had known of to the New World, and the first one to be executed was Captain George Kendall in Virginia for being a spy. But as America grew older, the death penalty laws have changed. How is it performed? There are 5 legal processes the death penalty can be performed by: hanging, firing squad, gas chamber, electrocution, and lethal injection. Now, 20 out of the 28 states who practice the death penalty use lethal injection as their main practice. And 16 states total use lethal injection, but also give their inmates a choice of how they want to be executed. Lethal injection is the most common method for receiving the death penalty. And when the lethal injection drug is inserted, it will cause muscle paralysis and respiratory arrest. This process begins by an inmate going into a chamber, being strapped down with restraints. A cardiac monitor is then attached, and IVs are attached to both arms to be sure of a usable vein. The lethal drugs are then inserted, and death occurs within about 8 minutes. How does one receive the death penalty? As stated before, there are many different cases in which someone will receive the death penalty. But it doesn't just happen in the blink of an eye. After being convicted of a capital crime, said person who has been tried for this crime would be sent to death row. And death row is just a different type of prison holding inmates who are awaiting their death sentence. There is no accurate measure of the length of time prisoners spend on death row. Prisoners can remain in death row for an average time of 16 years, but also as little time as 6 months, but that is very rare. This is quoted from the article Time on Death Row. Meanwhile, in death row, an inmate can still be proven innocent, and they also can be proven innocent even after execution. How much does it cost? The death penalty is very costly, and the average cost is about $1 million, which, based on my survey, only a few of you have known. And a fun fact from Facts.net says, since the late 1970s, the death penalty has cost the state of California over $4 billion. That is also because they have the highest death penalty rates in the United States. And you may be wondering, why does it cost so much? It's not just the drug being used, it's the longer trials, appeals, more lawyers, and just the overall rarity of the case. Along with this, Ashby Jones states in Death Penalty Costs, many death penalty supporters meanwhile agree capital punishment costs should be reined in, and capital punishment should be fixed and not abolished. This relates to the cost of the death penalty and how many who do not believe in the death penalty really take costs into consideration. who supports it. The death penalty has been an ongoing debate for years, and it still is today. A 2015 survey resulted in 61% of adults saying that they supported the death penalty, while 37% had opposed it, and this opposing percentage is gradually rising today. 6 out of 10 Americans support the death penalty, and this question also opens up sides relating to race. 68% of white Americans support the death penalty, while 39 Black Americans also support it. And race is not only a contribution in today's world. Before the Civil War, many southern states developed slave codes, or a separate set of laws which carefully governed most Black activities. This was written in Race and Capital Punishment by Michael L. Baddeley. He explains how many people back then also thought the death penalty was racially unfair, so those codes were set into place. Majority of the public today continues to support the death penalty. And John Nice in The States and the Death Penalty says, the multivariate analysis also indicates that a high murder rate enhances appeal of the death penalty. With that being said, people who pay attention to murder rates may have different opinions on people who don't pay attention to murder rates. In this picture here, it shows who favors and who opposes the death penalty amongst national adults, whites, and Blacks. And you may notice that it says 2007, which obviously was a few years ago, but the numbers are fairly the same. And this graph or map here of the United States shows the states that use capital punishment as well as the states that do not. And if you can't see, the green are the states that use capital punishment, and the blue states are the states that do not. Overall, many contributions go into today's death penalty opinions. History, the process itself, costs, politics, and so many more things. Before presenting to you my speech, I could see that there was little to no understanding of the death penalty. But throughout this past 6 to 9 minutes, I hope you have gained a better understanding about my topic, the death penalty. Thank you for listening.